All right, let's dive into FuelCell Energy's latest numbers for Q1 2026. We're going to go way beyond just the headlines here. We'll look at their financial health, where they're trying to go strategically, and what this all really means for the company's future. Okay, before we get started, just a quick but really important heads up. This whole breakdown is for educational purposes. It's not financial advice, all right? We're just here to make sense of the information that the company has already shared with the public. So let's jump right in. FuelCell Energy. They're all about creating big-time reliable power with their fuel cells. But the big question we're tackling today is this. Do their latest financial results actually back up their game plan? Does the math work? So here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll get the big picture on fuel cell. Then we'll dig right into the Q1 financials. After that, we'll look at the strategy behind those numbers, check out a huge opportunity they have in carbon capture, talk about the risks, and finally, we'll pull it all together for the investors' takeaway. Okay, first things first, let's zoom out a bit. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this quarter's numbers, I think it's super important to understand who FuelCell Energy is and where they fit into the whole energy landscape. So they position themselves as the top dog in the US for these big utility-scale fuel cell platforms. And when you look at the scale, it's pretty impressive. They're getting close to a full gigawatt of deployed modules. They've got over 550 patents worldwide, and they've been doing this for more than 20 years. Oh, and get this, 90% of their suppliers are right here in the US, which, is a pretty big deal in today's world. All right, now for the part you've been waiting for, the Q1 2026 financials. And let me tell you, the numbers here really paint a picture of some major change and a lot of progress. So let's start at the top with revenue. Look at this jump. They went from $19 million in the first quarter of 2025 all the way up to $30.5 million this quarter. I mean, that's a huge year-over-year increase, and it's a really strong sign that demand for what they're doing is growing. But, revenue is only part of the story. The company is still operating at a loss, yeah? But look closer. That loss is actually getting smaller. It went from almost $33 million down to about $26 million. So what does that tell you? It shows they're not just getting bigger, they're getting smarter and more efficient. And for anyone watching from an investor's perspective, this is where it all comes together. We're talking about the net loss per share. This is a super important metric. It improved dramatically, from a loss of $1.42 last year to just 49 cents this quarter. That right there is proof that the changes they're making are having a real direct impact on shareholder value. Now, numbers like that, they don't just happen by accident, right? They're the result of a very specific strategy. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the company's actual game plan for getting to profitability and ultimately delivering that long-term value for shareholders. So, according to FuelCell, their whole financial strategy rests on three main pillars. First, keep a healthy amount of cash on hand to pay for growth. Second, make sure they have different ways to get access to capital. And third, and this one's a big one, really tighten the belts on costs. Cut overhead and focus on a product platform that can scale up easily. Okay, let's double-click on that first pillar, liquidity. The company finished the quarter with almost $380 million in cash. Wow, that is a really crucial cushion. It gives them a long runway to actually get their strategy done without having to worry about short-term money problems. And that brings us to that third pillar I mentioned, cost discipline. You can see the proof right here. Look at their operating expenses. They slashed them from $27.6 million down to $20.4 million compared to last year. That is a crystal clear sign that their push for efficiency is paying off in real dollars. Okay, now let's switch gears and talk about something that could be an absolute game changer for FuelCell Energy. It's not just about making power. They are all in on carbon capture. And the way they do it is, well, it's pretty unique. This quote from their own presentation really nails it. Their tech is designed to naturally capture CO2 while it's running without needing an extra power source to do it. Think about that for a second. That is a massive advantage over other technologies that actually have to burn energy just to capture carbon. So, how does this actually work in the real world? Well, they've got two main approaches. On one hand, you have external capture. That's where they basically bolt their system onto a big industrial plant, like a refinery, and grab the CO2 from the exhaust. Then you have internal capture, which is where their standard fuel cell just pulls the CO2 out of its own fuel source. So it's one core technology, but with two very different and very powerful applications. And hey, this isn't just some drawing on a whiteboard. What you're looking at right here is the real deal, the actual modular system. The fact that this is a physical thing that they can build, ship, and plug in, like the ones they're sending to that Exxon refinery in Rotterdam, That makes this a very real, very near-term opportunity. Of course, no deep dive would be complete if we didn't talk about the potential bumps in the road. And to their credit, the company is pretty upfront about the risks that could pop up and affect where they're headed. So we've kind of boiled down their official safe harbor statement into the key things you need to know. You've got your usual business risks, right? Things like supply chains, interest rates, the economy. But then there are the challenges specific to their industry. Things like relying on government subsidies, new regulations, a ton of competition. And maybe the biggest one of all, can they actually pull off the strategic plan we just talked about? So, okay, we've looked at the money, the strategy, the big opportunities, and the risks. What's the bottom line here? What's the big takeaway for an investor looking at all this? Let's pull it all together. Really, the story of this quarter is one of steady, solid progress. Revenues are up, losses are down, and they're getting their costs under control. They have a ton of cash in the bank and this potentially game-changing carbon capture tech. So the big final question, the one we'll leave with you, is this. Can FuelCell Energy steer for all those risks we mentioned and actually turn this solid strategic plan into real long-term shareholder value? And that's our look at FuelCell Energy's Q1 2026 report. Hey, if you found this breakdown helpful, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the companies and tech that are shaping our future.